For coming to the Lord?
My name is Johnny Chang. I'm not gonna be super amped. That's my bro right here. Got enough energy. I'm super chill, but I'm from LA. We're California kids. No, I'm just playing. But essentially, I grew up in LA, in Section 8 project housing. I'm sure you guys got that out here as well. I was at the age of 12. I joined a gang. Grew up with an alcoholic father. Grew up with a Buddhist mother, very submissive. Allowed my dad to basically run the house like a dictatorship. So he beat me, beat my mom, beat my brother, sent my mom to the ICU a couple times. And that's just something that was normal for me growing up. I grew up in a predominantly Hispanic area on the east side of LA. And, there was a lot of fights, a lot of racial tension, to the point where our gangs just didn't get along. It was on site. Got to the point where we went to prison and we were attacking each other in prison. It was just a really bad thing. So, at the age of 12, similar to Marcus, I was carrying a gun and I was, fighting and things like that. And I also actually ended up, it's funny that he says that he got kidnapped. Actually, we did a kidnapping. And I got 4 years in YA, California Youth Authority. And that place is the worst of the worst. It's where juvenile murders are. I've seen people get raped. I've seen people get stabbed. I've seen a lot of really, really bad things at the age of 12. So it cultivated a mindset inside of me to really trust myself and have PTSD 24/7. You didn't know if you're gonna make it. You're 12 years old and you're in there with 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds. You have to fight. Between the span of like 4 years, I fought over 40 times, right? And it was just crazy. So why I got into that type of lifestyle was because my dad, as he was beating on me, I would have to go out there and I would get into fights with other people. So it was just fighting everywhere, violence everywhere. And I really felt like I was my own protector. I didn't have a real family, so I went out looking for a pseudo family. And this is where I found my gang. And my gang, same thing. They took me out, put $100 in my pocket. And you guys know at the age of 12 years old, I'm 34 now, but $100 at 12 years old is like $1 million, right? You've never seen that. It's the old school bills too, right? Big faces, exactly. So I was just very, intrigued by the lifestyle. And I had this peculiar heart that I wanted to do everything that I wanted to do. And the things that I didn't want to do, I didn't do. For example, homework, right? I'm not a typical Asian, okay, guys? I'm not good at math. Right? I suck at math, so I suck at math. I didn't like school. I didn't like anime. No, I'm just kidding. But basically, I love anime. No, but essentially, I trusted in myself a lot. And, at the age of 12, as I got into prison for 4 years, got out for only 67 days. And I went right back in, 10 years, 85%, California, for another shooting, freeway shooting. And I just felt like my life was over. I trusted myself heavily. But I was able to, reflect one day and realize, when I trusted myself, where did my life lead to? I always lived in this emptiness that I felt, this loneliness, this depression inside of my heart, what we call this roller coaster lifestyle. And in prison, I explored different religions. I got my GED. I did counseling, anger management. But the one thing that I couldn't get rid of was this emptiness and this void that I was feeling inside of my heart. No matter what I did, I was always just empty. It's like walking around with this hole in the heart. And honestly, my mother, she transitioned from Buddhism about 4 years left on my sentence. She transitioned from Buddhism to Christianity. And when she converted, I was very, very angry, right? I was like, Mom, you're a religion hopper, right? Essentially, she jumped from Buddhism to, Christianity. And it was really, really frustrating for me because I didn't really like Christ. I didn't want to, just to be authentic, I was like, people are these Bible thumpers. They always tell you to repent, do better, try harder. And I just really didn't feel this happiness inside of my heart every time I was around these Christian people. But amazingly, 3 separate events happened when I got out of prison. So the first thing that happened was my friend had gotten murdered right in front of me. He died in my arms. I planned the robbery, actually. So I live with that survivor's guilt. And 3 days after that, I got a kite from prison, a separate letter. And essentially, one of my best friends who I grew up in the projects with, from pamper status, he actually sent this very cryptic, eerie, coded letter. And he ended up hanging himself in prison. And then 4 days after that, I had a youngster who I courted into the gang, one of my young homies, who I really loved. He was exactly like me, same background, same everything. He got murdered from a car-to-car shooting. So within a week and a half, I had seen 3 deaths, and I felt like my time was up. And I reached that position of I can't do it anymore. And at that time, that's when God was able to touch my heart through my mom, actually, and through food. And being in prison, Marcus could probably attest to this, food and commissary and stamps, letters, is like gold, literally. So through that, God was able to I had a Peter moment where, Jesus kind of brings the food and the bread, right? And I went to church, and I was able to see that God actually died for all of my sins. I was shown Hebrews chapter 10, verse 14, which states, "For by one offering he hath perfected forever them that are sanctified." One offering is Jesus. Perfected is in past tense. Forever is eternally, which means that we're perfect forever. And if the man who has the keys to the kingdom says someone like me, a dirty, evil sinner, is perfect through his blood, I was able to truly accept that, and that's how I changed, and that's why I'm here today. Amen.